Yeah, good evening on tonight's Holy Sabbath, the Most High's Holy Sabbath. Tonight we're going to be doing a teaching on false prophets. I'm Brother Bezalel Israel, and this Brother Judah Natalab Israel, and welcome to another Michigan Israelites documentary. Right now we're going to get into the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 1 through 14.
Matthew 24, verses 1. And Yeshua went out and departed from the temple, and the disciple came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yeshua said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be here one stone left upon another, that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world?
Okay, so right here the disciples asked the Messiah Christ, what will be the signs of the end times? Go ahead, continue.
And Yeshua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
So right here, Christ told them to take heed that no man deceive you, meaning not your father, not your pastor, nobody. He said, for many shall come in my name with a comma, saying, comma, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Many think that he's talking about only people like David Koresh, who was actually saying that they was, you know what I'm saying, the return of the Messiah. But he says, many shall come in my name, comma, meaning people shall come saying that Christ sent them. Like your pastors in your church saying that I'm a true follower of Christ. This is my church, and I'm preaching in the name of Christ. But that's not so. Go ahead, continue.
Matthew 24, verses 4. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
So right now you're hearing wars and rumors of wars. We went into Iraq, then you heard we was going to go into Afghanistan. We went to Afghanistan, then you heard we was going to go into Iran and possibly Libya now. But he said the end is not yet to come. Continue.
For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places.
He said there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. You know what I'm saying? There's been a lot of famines in the continent of Africa for quite some time, but you've heard a lot of small pandemics breaking out, like the avian bird flu, the swine flu. And now you've heard of this big, huge earthquake that happened in Japan. Go ahead, continue.
All these are the beginning of sorrows.
He said these are the beginning of sorrows. Continue.
Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many.
He said, and many false prophets shall arise and deceive many. I mean, we're clearly living in these times that Christ described almost 2,000 years ago to his disciples. You know what I'm saying? So if he said there shall be many false prophets, who are these false prophets? These are the many prophets, these are the many teachers that you see on TV, evangelistic preachers, you know what I'm saying, T.D. Jakes, Paula White, Joyce Myers, you know what I'm saying, who are not teaching the true doctrine of this Bible. They are all false prophets, and we're going to break down in Scripture how they false prophets. Go ahead, continue.
And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
Right there he says, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Right now your Sunday church is teaching you once you get baptized, you're saved. Like it's it. You hop in that water and now you're good. And that's not the truth. It says the same shall be saved, meaning future tense. You know what I'm saying? You're not saved yet. Like we shall go to the store tomorrow, but it's not tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So you got to endure to the end. It's going to be a lifelong fight with your flesh and against evil spirits. Continue.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
Okay, he says this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached into all nations. This gospel of the kingdom is preached by the Jews. We're not talking about the doctrine of Christianity. You know what I'm saying? Because Christ is not preaching a false doctrine. Christ is not preaching a doctrine that's contrary to these scriptures. So he said that the true gospel, the same one that he taught to his followers, that was Jews must be preaching all kingdoms. Then the end shall come, because Christianity is spread all around the world right now. Go ahead, continue.
That was it from Matthew.
Okay. Well, right now we're going to get into the book of 1 John, chapter 4, verse 1. Go ahead, read.
John chapter 4, verses 1. When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard.
No. 1 John.
1 John, okay, I'm sorry. First John chapter 4, verses 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit whether they are of the Most High, because many false prophets are going out into the world.
Okay, so here John is telling you to not believe every spirit, but to try the spirits. Many people in church is afraid to question their pastor, or they just go along with everything that their pastor say. You know what I'm saying? When you're supposed to test that man, they teach you shouldn't judge. But in church, you are supposed to judge. He's telling you to do this. Judge your pastor. And we're going to explain how are you to judge your pastor and know whether he is a God or not. We're going to get into that. Turn to the book of Matthew chapter 7, verses 15 to 16.
Matthew chapter 7, verses 15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles?
Okay, right here, Christ telling his disciples that many false prophets are going to come, but inwardly they're coming as wolves in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ravening wolves. He says, you shall know them by their fruits. So this is how you are to try the spirits. You have to pay attention to your pastor's fruits. What is he about? You know what I'm saying? Does your pastor brag about money? You know what I'm saying? Does your pastor really try to help people, or does he tell you that if you give him some money and pray, then that's how you get your blessing? You know what I'm saying? Like God is some type of genie or something. You know what I'm saying? Like money just gonna physically manifest itself from somewhere out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so right now we're going to get into the book of Mark, chapter 12, verses 38 through 40, because we gotta really get into this thing about the fruits and the deeds of today's pastors in these end times. So we're going to go to the book of Mark, chapter 12, verse 38 through 40.
Mark chapter 12, verses 38. And he said unto them, in his doctrine, beware of the scribes, which love to go in long clothing and love salutations in the marketplace.
Okay, right here he says, beware of the scribes, which love to go in long clothing. You know what I'm saying? Today, in your modern Sunday churches, a lot of your pastors have these long robes. You know what I'm saying? And he says, and they love salutations, and in the marketplaces, they love their greetings. They love when they step down off stage, the whole congregation crowded around them. They love when they get sings, people flagging, hey, that's my pastor. You know what I'm saying? They love those things. Go ahead, continue.
Mark 12 and 39. And the chief seats in the synagogue, and the uppermost rooms at feasts.
And the chief seats in the synagogue. Is your pastor's in the church, is his chair a lot bigger than everybody else's chair? Because the churches that I went to, the pastor's chair is a lot bigger than the other chairs and the deacons that sit alongside him. He wants to exalt himself as a king. He feels like he's a king over this congregation of people. You know what I'm saying? He likes himself being glorified and not giving honor to the Most High. That's right. Go ahead, continue.
Mark 12 and 40, which devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers, these shall receive greater damnation.
He says, which devour widows' houses.